Hi guys, welcome to my channel Lush Gardener. I hope you guys are fine and are safe. So guys, today we are going to be talking about a very beautiful trailing succulent called as Cotyledon Pendens. Now guys, if you notice my succulents over here, some of them are stretching because this particular pot is a vertical planter. So the problem what happened is only the front side of this vertical pot was receiving a good amount of light, but the ones behind, this is where it was attached, this is where it was not receiving a lot of light. So you can see how these pendants have started to stretch. This indicates that they require a lot of light. Now guys, if you're going to provide them with indirect bright light, then it will not stretch, but you won't get that bright intense colors. Now right now I'm not getting a lot of color on these guys because we are in the monsoon season. There is not much sun. But if you provide them with morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours, then all these edges that you're seeing, which has this very faded orange color, will turn very intense and it tends to look really beautiful. They also have a lot of farina on them, so you need to be extremely careful while handling them. Now guys, another best thing about this plant is it's a very less fussy kind of a plant, but what I would always suggest is never disturb the mother plant. If you are planning to do any kind of propagation, do it from cuttings rather than separating or dividing the mother plant, because I've noticed with plants like these are very delicate, especially when a lot of people try to propagate this. They try to divide the plant, and that is where a lot of problem starts. So what I can advise is always try to do a top cutting, so that, or you can do a stem cutting, but don't try to move the mother plant from the original pot, because once it's moved or once it's disturbed, that's where a lot of problem starts. Now again guys, this is my personal opinion. This is what I have experienced personally. Whenever I've tried to separate it from the mother plant, it has always the remaining part of the plant has always got damaged. So I quit doing that. What I do is I just go ahead and do the cuttings from top. I just do a beheading or a stem cutting, and I do not disturb the main mother plant. So if you guys remember in one of the videos wherein I had used this DIY kind of a thermocol box wherein I had put in this different succulents. As you can see, this is the update. They all are looking quite well. They're doing quite fine. They are kept in morning direct sunlight, so you can see all of the colors are intact. In fact, the colors are more intense compared to what it was last time. And I'd also put in some pendants in this. I'd put in some cuttings. So it's been a while, so I just wanted to repot them. And I wanted to show you guys how the roots look like. So these three pendants that I have in this pot were stem cuttings. So over the period of time, they have developed roots. So I'm going to show you how the roots look like. Even my sedum adolphi, I had put in the cuttings that time, and now you can see they are very stiff in the soil, which means that they have rooted. All of them have rooted. They look very stiff and firm in the soil. So basically they have adapted in this new container. Talking about the soil for pendants, it remains the same what we use for our other succulents. The soil has to be loose, porous, well draining, but there should be a slight moisture for these succulents because they prefer very slight moisture in the soil. So you can keep that in mind. So whenever you're doing a watering, ensure that the pot has a very slight moisture. Whenever you feel that 90% of the pot is dry, you can go ahead and water. What I would suggest is do not keep them underwatered for a really long time. You will be able to see over here, you can see the roots have already started coming up. These were cuttings that were put. Now I'm going to show you another thing, how you can identify if they are underwatered. You can see this leaf over here. The lower leaves, you can see they have started getting wrinkles. It's because I had not watered this particular container for a really long time. And I think I watered them 2 or 3 days back. So now they have started to plump up again, but lower leaves are still wrinkled. However, the entire leaves on this pendant were wrinkled, but when I watered it 2 days back, the upper leaves started to revert back. They started turning plump, but the lower leaves will take some time, but that's absolutely fine. I just wanted to show you guys how the underwatered pendants look like. They are going to get a lot of wrinkles if you do not water them. So ensure that you follow a proper watering schedule and do not keep them underwatered for a really long time, otherwise it can lead to a problem. But as you can see on the positive side, all of these pendants have started to put out roots, so it's very easy to propagate them, to multiply them. They also get propagated by leaves as well. But again, guys, remember, leaf propagation takes a really long time as compared to stem cutting. So if you're planning to increase your collection at a faster rate, then stem cutting is the best option. So you can see even this one has already started putting out new roots, the white roots. So all of these 3 cuttings have been successful. So it's now time to move them to a slightly bigger pot. To be honest, this DIY waste thermocol box was a hit because all of my succulents are doing quite well. I have been providing them with direct morning sunlight for 5 to 6 hours. That's the reason why you can see them, they have this intense colors. Now guys, getting back to the pendants, now you can see my soil is slightly moist. It's because it has been raining a lot and I don't have any dry soil around. Everything has been getting wet because of continuous rains. But nevertheless, because these guys already have roots, so it's not going to be much of an issue, and the soil is not very wet, it's just slightly moist, so it's going to work out well. So now I'm not going to push the pendants too deep into the soil. I'm just going to put them on the upper level so that the roots can then push in, and I'm just going to set them up. Guys, we need to be a little careful because, as I said, they have a little bit of farina that shouldn't get damaged. Now after I'm going to be doing this planting, I'm going to keep it in indirect bright light for a few days and then slowly start exposing them to morning direct sunlight. So I hope that this pot will at least get that intense orange edges when it is put out in morning direct sunlight, because guys, this succulent absolutely looks fantastic when it is completely stressed. It looks really beautiful. Right now mine looks little dull because, you know, we are in the monsoon season, there is not much sun and there is so much of moisture, so the plant is kind of growing right now, so it has reduced all the stress, which is absolutely fine. When it is going to be put out in the morning direct sunlight, it is going to get the color back. So now we are almost done with the potting. You can see how simple it is. Now guys, I know a lot of you might say, oh, it looks very simple, but when we try to do it, they tend to die off. But it's okay guys, this is the initial stage. When you're just starting with succulents, there are going to be a lot of casualties, but as and when you get that experience, when you gain that experience, it's going to be absolutely fine. You will be able to do this much more confidently. So now one of the slot is empty, so I'll have to figure out which succulent to put in that. Meanwhile, you can see this is how the pendants look like. I have put 3 of the stems in each pot. So let's say that if I want to propagate some more, I think I can cover up another 3 to 4 pots with 3 stems each in a pot. So this is how you can propagate and multiply. But ensure whenever you're doing the cuttings and you're putting them into the soil, ensure that the soil is dry. Now the ones which I used, they already had roots, so there was not much issue of the soil being moist or dry. Now guys, coming back to the one slot that was left, I'm going to use this particular succulent. I don't know the exact ID, but I think that this is an Echeveria. So I'll be using this guy to fill up that empty slot in my waste DIY thermocol box. So I think it's going to look good. I'm pretty excited with this succulent because it tends to look really pretty, but again, I'm not quite sure what exactly is the ID. I'm sure it's an genus of Echeveria, but we'll get to know later. So here we go, we are done with the final spot. I hope that this Echeveria grows very healthy and it puts out its true colors once it's exposed to morning direct sunlight. So my pendants are done. This slot of the box is also done. Now I'll give you a little bit more details about pendants. Let's talk a little bit about the dormancy and the non-dormancy. So pendants go dormant during the summer period and winter is the active growing period. So if you're planning to do any propagation or planning to multiply them, then winter is the best time because that is going to be their active growing period. If you're planning to use any kind of fertilizers, ensure that you go for a liquid based fertilizer. Always dilute it before giving it for your succulents, and please do not over fertilize your succulents. During the winter period, you can either do once a month or once in 2 months you can give them liquid fertilizer. Pendants are quite resilient to pest. To be honest, I haven't seen any mealybugs or aphids, or for that matter any insects that have attacked my pendants. They have been doing quite well, but again it depends. It's always better to do a routine check. If you tend to notice any kind of bugs, it's always better to use any organic solution that you have been doing, but it's always better to detect it at early stage. So guys, I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe and keep propagating.